Hello everybody, and welcome to my talk, Turn Django-admin into a light dashboard. My name is Thomas Ayih-Akakpo. I am a software developer based in Madagascar. My day-to-day job involves actually working on data projects. I have to collect data, store them, do some computation, and make sense out of them. You can find me on the internet under the handler DrawLab, be it on Twitter or GitHub, and feel free to ping me so we can have a good chat about Python and also Star Wars. Yeah. So today I want to talk about Django and especially Django-admin, because to me Django is exactly what it says it is, a web framework for perfectionists with deadlines. Every time I had a data project, I always had to go with Django because Django to me is really straightforward. The ORM is so simple. Well, at least I find it simple. I'm sorry. Is so simple for me that describing my data in the models is really a no-brainer. When I have a clear vision of what my data actually look like, the Django ORM is a tool that let me interact with those data really easily. And Django comes also with a tons of useful middlewares. So you can have lots of functionalities already embedded in Django. And Django also takes care of permissions, authentication, and it also comes with Django-admin. Another perk of Django for me are database migrations. Whenever I was confronted to a data project, I always had this issue. What if my data model change in the future? Will I have to always rebuild the database or delete the table, create new tables? Dealing with migrations was really a pain at a certain moment for me. And with Django, I think migrations are done the right way, and it is really simple. So yeah, those are all the reasons why I tend to prefer Django over other frameworks that exist. And about Django-admin, we will come back to it later. Before that, I want to talk about dashboards. Dashboards are what I like to call the UI and the UX of your data projects. Maybe I'm misusing the terms here, but what I mean by this is dashboards represent the interface that your users have to interact with data, and dashboards are also they are also how can I say this? Each user have a particular experience with a dashboard. What I mean by this is when you create a dashboard, you have users in mind because your dashboard needs to be easily readable. Your dashboard needs to provide certain insights. Okay, so not everybody will need the same insights on data. Okay. It's also the same for forecasting. Not all users need that functionality, and not every users will forecast the same way. Not every users will try to make sense out of data the same way. Some will search for certain metrics, right? And your dashboard also needs to provide summaries and charts and etc. So in all this, why are we talking about Django-admin as a dashboard? Because most of the time in your data projects, you need to provide a dashboard, okay? But most of the time, what you need to provide are just simple summaries, right? Or simple trends. You need to display simple charts, or you need to display a simple time series, okay? And with Django ORM, you can actually create those aggregations, those summaries. You can create them easily, and with Django-admin, you can display them, right? So that's why I'm talking about Django-admin as a dashboard. And in my experience, this is something that had led me to providing faster insight to my users. What I mean by this is, I start a project. I choose Django as a framework, and I choose Django-admin to let my users create, read, update, and delete data. Okay, because I don't want to create forms again, and I don't want to create tables again, because I'm a bit lazy. And yeah, so I use Django-admin for that, and I don't want my user to leave Django-admin, so I don't want to create a second setup for the dashboard, even though there are excellent framework out there for dashboards. On top of my mind, I have Grafana, which is good for time series. Django Dash is something really interesting in this sector. And yeah, well, in the early stage of the project, usually users tend to need only summaries and simple charts. Okay, so if I can do that with Django-admin or within Django-admin, well, this for me is a plus. Okay, so I don't create dependencies. The early stages of my projects are really simple, and I can actually build upon that later. Okay, so let's see in practice how we can do this. Okay, in Django we have a neat trick which is called proxy model. The proxy models are actually objects that mimic a real model without creating a table in the database for it. We can do whatever we want with that proxy, and it will actually act as if it was the real model. So you can make query set on it. You can make aggregation on it, and this is exactly what we will leverage here. So as you can see in the, for instance, in the example here, we have the reading summary, which is a proxy of reading. Reading itself is a model describing the measurements we have for each basin every day at certain times. Okay, so for a basin we have multiple temperature oxygen readings per day. Okay, by the way, this example is actually an extract of my day-to-day work, right? Currently, I am working in a fish farm where they have to monitor, the fish farming, and they have to monitor temperature, oxygen of the in the water. They have to monitor also temperature of the air, etc., etc. So they have a bunch of environmental and zootechnical data that I have to store, compute on, and provide insights, so they can actually forecast the quality of the product in the end. So yeah, in here, after creating the proxy, we can actually add that proxy model to admin, just like a normal model. Okay, and as you can see on the right, the template, we create a custom template for that extends the base change list template of admin. The change list template of admin is that page you see when you click on the model and you have the table presenting the actual data in the database. That is the template here, and this template we extended, and we will just populate the block result list where the actual table goes. Okay, so in practice it looks like this. After doing all this, we have this result, a blank page for our reading summary. And here in the blank part, this is where we pull the table, the table with the summaries. Okay, so those summaries, as I said, will be computed by aggregation, right? And as you can see here in the model admin of the reading summary, we have the change list view, which is the actual view that is called by Django-admin to be rendered into changelist.html. Okay, and in this view we do a bunch of stuff where we actually take advantage of Django-admin. We don't compute anything new, we just extract the query set that Django created from the context. Okay, and we don't reinvent the wheel, right? and we create aggregations on that query set. See here, we have a dictionary called metrics, where we actually create the aggregations. For instance, here we count the total samples, so the total readings, okay? We calculate the average temperature, and by grouping the values in the query set by basin, we annotate with those metrics, right? So in result, we have a dictionary here, summary, where we will have per basin the total samples and the average temperature. And we can even create an aggregation on that query set where we will have the total of total samples and the average of all temperature readings. And with all this, a bunch of HTML here, where we will create the actual table with basin, number of samples, temperature, even oxygen if you want, as columns, and the rows are actually extracted from the summary dictionary. I see here that in my example I have mean oxygen. That doesn't appear here, but you get the point, right? And you can also use custom tags to prettify the results, for instance, roundup values, etc., etc. Okay, and in practice it gives that kind of results. See, we even have the date hierarchy here, and we have the column basin, number of samples, temperature, and oxygen. And at the bottom, we have the aggregation line where we have the total of total samples. We have the mean value of temperature, the mean value of oxygen. So if you do click on the date hierarchy filter here, you will go deeper in the results. I mean, it will automatically create the correct query sets. So for instance, if you click on 2020, then the query set will change to only take into account the readings of 2020. And so the value that you will have automatically will be computed on this period, right? And this is where it is so insanely great to use Django-admin. It already creates the query set. You don't have to do anything about it, right? So we've been talking about charts in dashboards. Okay, so up until now, what we've been doing is just using Django ORM to compute data, and let Django-admin do its magic to display data. Okay, so with charts, what we can do, we can visualize those data. Remember, we need no dependencies, right? Oh, I'm sorry. We remember we don't want any dependencies. Okay, so we'll go full CSS here. I apologize in advance. I'm not a great CSS developer. So what you will see after, if you are a good CSS developer, please, we can talk after this, so we can make this better. Okay. So what we have here in admin.py is to create the chart. We will draw lines from the bottom to the top, okay? And we won't draw the actual values, but we will just draw their proportion, right? So that's why here I do take the minimum and the maximum value, and then I calculate the percentage here, so that I know exactly the percentage or the area that I have to color in my CSS, right? So this typically here on the right looks like this in this div class bar with the style, which is the height, right? The height here being the percentage that I've been computing here. Okay, so blah blah blah, all this gives this, right? See how beautiful is that? Here you can see that it displays the graph of values computed over time. Okay, so what we did is to actually group values per period. Okay, That period being days. We can have months, we can have weeks, we can have years. You can even make this period, let's say, functional. What I mean by functional is you can actually say, if for instance in the date hierarchy I choose years, then period becomes week. If I do choose months, then periods become days, etc., etc. See, I guess I think you see the point, right? So it gives something like this, okay? So at this point, you have a fully functional dashboard where you have a summary and you have a chart presenting the data over time. And with the date hierarchy in Django-admin, in the model admin, you are able to have a neat filter of your values over time. And all this is exactly what makes Django-admin so interesting to me, because in less than maybe an hour, yeah, you can provide insights to your users on the data you have in Django-admin. Yeah, so to be precise, this is how I actually did it on the project that I'm currently working on with the fish farm. Within few weeks, I was able to collect the data, gather them, store them, and provide that kind of dashboard so that we could move forward faster. Okay. And then after build upon that and have another framework dedicated to dashboards, but that came in the second position. But the point of all this is that you can actually meet deadlines quickly with Django-admin in your data projects, and you don't need to reinvent the wheel. And from here, where you can go is actually use a dedicated library to plot the charts. Okay. Still within Django-admin, so you can write a bit of JavaScript if you want. If you don't want that, you can actually use a dedicated dashboard framework, right? But you can also customize the queries that you have in the model admin, so that your Django-admin renders faster. For those that are used to Django and Django-admin in particular, you know that if you don't quite understand how query sets are made in Django, then your application can be a bit slow. I've been experiencing it myself, and trust me, annotations and aggregations are very, very powerful tools that you could use in Django to make it faster. And you can also add custom interaction for users, like custom functions, custom filters. You can add custom buttons, custom columns, etc., etc. All this together will make a better Django-admin application without you having reinventing the wheel again. Okay. And yeah, we've reached the end of the talk. I hope diving into Django-admin with me was quite interesting. I hope so. And if you have any questions, yeah, I think we have a Q&A session after that. And if you have any questions, I'll be glad to answer them as much as I can. So yeah, thank you very much for sticking with me here. And yeah, see you soon. Bye-bye.